Everybody's already here. Looks like we're the last ones to arrive.
You're here.
Ah, there you are. Well, look who finally decided to show up.
You look like you came here immediately after finishing up some work.
But we're not late, are we?
I propose that the last one who arrived be put in charge of today's speeches.
Nah, there won't be any.
Oh, really? Well, even better.
Come join us over here. Let's share some great food.
Everything looks quite...
Wow. Paimon can't wait. Traveler, just look at all the delicious food here. Whoa. It's so delicious.
The food was specially prepared for you by everyone in the Grand Bazaar. And everyone that came said that you saved Sumeru, and wanted me to thank you all on their behalf. Ah, feels kinda nice to be seen as a hero. I could get you.
Being a bodyguard is also a hero's job. You've...
My lady sure has a way with words.
And I'm happy to meet everyone that participated in...
Don't mention it.
Come to think of it, we've really done something
We owe it to our abilities. And luck.
Really? Why do I remember everybody thinking that luck was against us and feeling like we hardly had a chance of succeeding?
That's how I remember it too.
It's luck that brought us together, and it was luck that let us form a team. Then, it took even more luck for us to formulate a plan and implement it Moreover, judging from the results,
Yeah. Everyone gave it their all when it mattered most. It was almost like a performance. Everyone played their part. And thanks to everyone's effort.
So, would you say we're good actors too?
It's such a blessing that Lesser Lord Kusanali was able to return to power at the Academia.
Yes! Even after being abandoned and neglected so many times, she's finally returned. Uh-huh. Lesser Lord Kusanali once used all her power in a great disaster, which resulted in her losing all her wisdom and memories of the past. The Academia basically... This should be something everybody should remember. Huh? You look surprised.
No, everything you said is correct.
That's good.
Something wrong?
Yeah, what's with that face? You knew all of this already.
Even if those two giants of the Academia are here, I still have to say it. Those sages really have some nerve. 500 years ago, Lesser Lord Kusanali used all her power for the people of Sumeru. And what did they do in... If you bite the hand that feeds you, don't act surprised when it turns into a knuckle sandwich.
Perhaps I shouldn't say this, but their treatment of Lesser Lord
You could simply tell Lesser Lord Kusanali that you wish to have Azar and his accomplices
I respect our deity's decision, and won't. While we're on this topic, why didn't you accept the Academia's invitation to become the Grand Sage?
Are you trying to say that I'm fit to be a sage?
Not at all. But every person handling the selection process has said that you are the most suitable candidate to lead the...
Why? Because he dethroned Azar from power?
Could you try to put it another way? This is a good thing, yet you're making it sound like I overthrew Azar for my own personal gain.
But seriously though, I always wondered if you had some personal motives behind...
I did have my own motive, but it had nothing to do with being a sage. If the rules of our nation were suddenly cast by the wayside, then it wouldn't be long until chaos ensued. I had no intention of letting their dreams disrupt my life.
By that, you mean your life working as the Academia?
Precisely.
Wait, is that all?
So, that's the only reason why you joined us?
It's reason enough.
You've certainly got quite the
You flatter me.
All right then. How about you?
That's right.
Will you be happy?
It's not about being happy. There are merely a lot of things that I must do.
Even so, keep your spirits up and try to be happy.
Thank you.
Well, how is it? Are you enjoying the... It's the first time I've ever invited so many... You see, every guest here is quite extra... Make sure you live it up tonight. I'll be... I'm honored to have her think of me this way. If I have a... I can't explain why.
The atmosphere here is good. And everything is delicious. I don't often come to such places. I have a lot to handle these days. Otherwise, I could show you.
I seldom participate in such lively gatherings, but the atmosphere here is quite good. No, this gathering today has a unique meaning. The Grand Bazaar is lively because the people here feel happiness from the bottom of their heart. That happiness is an emotion that'll be forever alien. I seem to have taken both keys when I left the house. Oh well.
My lady, the grilled meat over there is
Yes, I also tried some fruit. What an amazing place to relax.
You said it. Oh, look who else is here.
Hello. Oh, I'm so happy Nilu invited everybody.
Hey, less of that polite chit-chat and more eating and drinking.
Hey, what's wrong? Your head is starting to droop. Hey, you can't just fall asleep here. Paimon will go find something delicious for you to eat. You wake up once you... Of course, just wake... It's me. You may blame me for being a bit too self-indulgent. I was thinking about talking with you, and the next thing I knew, I had made a connection. The connection between us is amazing. It's like flora and the fence it grows upon. I heard there's an amazing celebration feast today at the Grand Bazaar. I wanted to have a look for myself, so Lately, I've been so busy dealing with all the fallout from recent events, so I really haven't had any free... Although you've already helped me with a lot, there's... Please say thank you to everyone for me. Is it not convenient for you to do that for me? But if I just show up all of a sudden, what if I end up scaring them and ruining the... Yes, I have. You said I should go thank everyone as myself, right? So... I've decided to borrow your body for the time being. Please don't... Everyone! Are you awake now? Paimon was just about to bring you the food. It's me. Huh? That voice. Nahida?
Hold up, what's going on?
I didn't expect to have a conversation with the consciousness of Lesser Lord Kusanali in the Grand Bazaar. Interesting. Is this also a...
No, of course not. Are you... Lesser Lord Kusanali?
Hello, Nilu.
You know who I am?
Yes, I already know every one of you. Nilu, I'll hate them. Sino, Dia, Paimon, and Dunyarzad.
Lesser Lord Kusanali?
I took the liberty of occupying the Traveler's body so that I could thank all of you in person. Thank you so much for rescuing me, even if that meant placing your own safety in peril and taking the risk of becoming enemies with the Academia, the sages, the doctor, the balladeer, and even the... Without you, without any of you, I would have been in a much more... Had you not helped me to resolve the crisis, not only I, people refer to you as the heroes who managed to rescue a god. I'm quite fond of this name. It not only explains your identities, but also bears witness to your Please, allow me...
Lesser Lord Kusanali, you have done so much for Sumeru, and...
Dunyarzad, the suffering you endured during your illness is also proof of you being with me and praying for me.
You don't need to be so ceremonious. It's always been my duty to protect.
This is how the relationship between the Academia and Dendro Archon should be. We just did what was necessary and set things back on the right path.
You're an Archon, but you act so humble. You really don't need to...
I'm honored to have been able...
Thank you, all of you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Are you awake? Did you rest well? After Nahida left, you ate a lot of food. You've become a glutton. That just means you still have a lot to learn from Master Paimon. All right, since you're awake now, should we go and have a... She should be in the Academia right about now. If... Hello, Traveler, and... what a fantastic night. I'm still... So are we, and that's why we're here to... Is there anything you want to know? After recent events, the Akasha can no longer function as it used to. I've given it some thought, and have decided to shut it down, but this is definitely not a bad thing. Even from the beginning, I've been planning to shut it down. The Akasha's centralized administration of knowledge has always restrained people's curiosity and curtailed the number of paths available to them. I don't think this... Although people may initially feel a little uncomfortable with the loss of the Akasha, and as for the future of Sumeru, I'm preparing to regain control of the former sages have received their punishment, but the new sages have yet to be selected. I hope that the new 6th grade sages will be more focused on academics. Sumeru needs such leaders more than ever. The other big issue is the people of King Deshret. All the residents of the desert, in fact. They have been mistreated for far... I've already taken some measures to address... You mean, what happened after the doctor put you to sleep? Not exactly. The top-ranked Fatui Harbingers, up to number 3, possess power comparable to that of gods. I was no match for him in that kind of situation. However, in spite of the bad situation, I still managed to make a fair deal with the doctor. I'm sure you remember the entity that changed your fate, the Heavenly Principles. In fact, the Heavenly Principles has been quiet since the Conria disaster 500 years ago. I used this point as leverage against the doctor. I told him that the Heavenly Principles may be awakened if I destroy the Gnosis. Although it's just a bluff, he still fell for it. I assumed that the Heavenly Principles wouldn't just stand by and let such extensive damage to its laws take... And as for what the exchange served as both punishment for the doctor, as well as a boon of new knowledge that I couldn't refuse as the God of Wisdom. He's still in a coma. I've hidden him like how one would hide a feather. I know you have many misgivings about him, but as someone who had become a god, he has retained a number of very useful features. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. In addition, there are still some mysteries left in him. Some things may be very clear from my perspective, but he is still yet to understand them himself. His future will be determined by fate. Is that where you're headed next? Fontaine, the Nation of Justice? As far as I know, that nation operates in a judicial system.
Does their Archon personally judge people?
No, there's a Chief Justice in Fontaine. Generally speaking, the Hydra Archon, Focalor, won't preside over individual trials. However, even then, Focalor will still make herself present at just about every trial. It seems that she just likes to immerse herself in that sort of atmosphere. As Archon, she still reserves the right to influence the final verdict. Anyway, let's just say she's got, Are you sure? Isn't there something else you...
Huh? You mean...
While you were resting at Gandharvaville, I took some time to perform an Irminsul search for information on your brother.
Yeah, isn't Irminsul a repository for all the information and memories of Tevat? So there shouldn't be anything on her or her brother.
This is true in your case. Irminsul indeed does not have any information on you. However, there must be something different about your brother. Because, as it turns out, the world has recorded information on him after all.
What?
There's only one possible explanation. He belongs to this world.
But nothing about this makes any sense! Wasn't this your first trip to Tevat?
According to the records I was able to access, your sibling suddenly appeared in After the Conria disaster, he began his journey through the 7 nations of Tevat. But just as his journey was about to reach its conclusion, the Irminsul records on him
What do you mean, Fuzzy?
All I know for sure is that somebody, for reasons only they can know, is the... And whoever it is, if they can do that, who knows what else they're capable of.
But even that wouldn't explain how he somehow comes from this world.
Something else I noticed was that according to these records, the Fatui have not classified your sibling as one of the Descenders.
What's a Descender?
Look, I'm sure you must be curious about the information I received from the Fatui in return for my gnosis, right? A very important part of the intel was about this world's Descenders. External beings, ones that don't belong to... Traveler, you are Tevat's 4th Descender.
Huh? So the Fatui count 3 other Descenders before the Traveler, and her brother isn't even one of them?
That's right. My current hypothesis is that the first Descender was likely what we now call the Heavenly Principles. As for the other Descenders, I still need to verify their existence. It could take...
Paimon's head's about to burst from up.
And yet, even knowing all this, I'm sure you must still have a lot of unanswered questions. There are many questions in my heart as well. I will need some time to go through each one of them. And soon, you'll also begin your journey anew and depart. I'm very interested in your future. It's a journey that can't be observed or recorded by this world. If fate is the ultimate knowledge, then your future will be the ultimate fate.
Paimon's sure glad we got to...
The pleasure is all mine. Alright, that's enough talk for today. If you ever miss me, just close your eyes, and maybe...
You must have a whole bunch of questions after our last conversation with Nahida. Paimon was ready to ask her a million more questions, but didn't want to seem too pushy. Like, about these Descenders. So, does that just mean people like you who come traveling to Tevat from someplace else? And as for your brother... Whew, so many questions. Let's go find Nahida and see what else we can find out.
Is there anything you want to know? According to the records, after the Conry, the Justice's journey was about...
What do you mean, Fuzzy?
All I know for sure, and whoever it is.
But even that...
Something else I noticed was that...
What's a Descender?
Look, I'm sure you... A very important... Traveler? You.
Huh? So the Fatui?
That's right. But as for the other Descenders, I still... And yet, even knowing all... There are many questions in my heart as well. I will need some... And soon, you'll also begin your... I'm very interested in... If fate is the ult...
Paimon's sure glad...
The pleasure is all... Alright, that's enough...
come on. Serious suggestions, please. I'm not trying.
Well, if it's facts and logic you're after.
Yeah, well, I want to write my essay on something
Yes, you came to me. So all...
Okay.
Did one of them just mention Tatarasuna? But is it just Paimon, or is it kinda unusual for someone in Sumeru to want to write a paper about that? Great! Let's go find out what this Tatara...
Alright, I guess I'll go with my texture. If only we knew where to find that traveler. From what they say about her, this seems like the kind of thing she'd know about.
Oh, you're the traveler. You...
Hey, what's with that face? Don't believe us?
No, of course I believe you. Actually, I first heard about your great exploits when I was... This is my first time coming face to face with you and your mysterious silver-haired companion. I couldn't believe my luck, and out of force of habit, I started...
Sawada, for the love of... Sorry, we don't get out much, so our social skills are kinda... Traveler, I hear you've helped many people a great deal and been to many places. Would you be able to tell us about Tatarasuna?
Actually, we don't know much about that place either. In fact, we only came over here because we heard you talking about it, and...
I see. My teacher chose this area of research as a personal challenge. He said it's difficult to get into because even Inazumans don't know much about Tatarasuna's path.
If you don't mind, I'd love to show you all my outline for the...
Hold on, Sawada. Don't you think that's a bit of a...
Well, fair point. In that case, please ease yourselves in gently by taking a look at Akaba's latest
Let me give you some background. This all started with the discovery of some records in Tatarasuna. But in the end, he threw it into a fire to destroy it, and killed his... Apart from the swordmaker, his servant, and the one who wrote this all down, the records also...
That's right. Akaba's teacher is...
So first this strange person goes
Yes, my thoughts exactly.
Stop shouting!
This part's important. I just wanted to... It just so happens that even back then, Tatarasuna was already at the center of Inazuma's smelting industry. The man in charge was a government official named Niwa. Curiously enough, it seems...
Wait, so there are two missing people?
That's right! What's more, Niwa is a name with a lot of history.
Oh, the swordsmiths? Yeah, like Ishin art?
Wow, yes. You really know your stuff. That makes things easier. So basically, this Niwa was a distant relative of the Kaidahara clan, the last practitioners of Ishin art. Something then seems to have happened in the Kaidahara clan, leading to their downfall. I don't know the details, but...
The Kaidahara clan?
Sawada, you left out the biggest detail of all.
Oh, yes, of course. How could I forget?
Get to the point.
According to information acquired by Akaba's teacher, the Kabukimono was not a human, but a puppet.
A puppet?
Aha! Judging by the looks on your faces, you do know something
No! Paimon just meant...
I agree, it does. But considering...
Oh, and please read my essay. Sawada was encouraging me to follow. Oh, how about if I plug the hole?
Wait! You're allowed to just make stuff up?
Akaba, look. Your teacher has researched this extensively. Besides, if there really was a...
Good point. Okay, back to the drawing board.
We have some other stuff to do, so we'll have to...
All right, thank you. If you find out any more...
talking about? It has to do with the balladeer, doesn't it? Okay, then, even if we did know something, after all, we kicked his butt and got him locked. If you ask Paimon, Akaba should just pick a different topic. There must be as many essay topics. Hey, did you see that? He literally just went by, over there. It looked like... the balladeer! No, it can't have been. He got locked up. Oh, quick, let's catch up and see.
Traveler, Paimon.
Nahida, bad news. Did he escape or...
Sure enough.
Hey! What are you doing in the sanctuary?
I know you must have a lot of questions. Please, allow me to explain. It was my idea to set the balladeer free. We made a deal, and he's gonna do some investigation in Irminsul for me.
A deal?
What did you expect? Why do you think Sumeru would keep me around otherwise? Or maybe killing me? But if that's the case, why haven't you done it already?
Don't flatter yourself. It was...
Ah, so if it were up to you, you'd finish the job? Guess I had you all wrong.
Well, that escalated quickly. Not a good start.
But Paimon's worried about you, Nahida.
It's not every day you see people questioning the God of Wisdom's judgment.
Don't you dare try to drive...
As long as the terms are reasonable, I don't think there's a problem in making a deal.
Well, I, for one, have no reason to doubt you. Considering you even struck a deal with it.
Yes, one in which I gained valuable information. You'll come to understand more about that in the fullness. The Balladeer's power was all but completely spent after your battle. He's no longer strong enough to be a strategic threat to us. Plus, he's a former Harbinger with knowledge of many of the Fatui's sensitive secrets. Being stuck here in Sumeru could make him a sitting duck, depending on how the Fatui plan.
Wait a second. Farmer? You mean...
I take no pleasure in saying this, but it seems as if the doctor had no intention of welcoming back a loser, so...
Sometimes it's you using them, other times it's them using you. Most human relationships are this way. Certainly all the stable ones are. That's how it was between me and the Fatui, and also between each. So as long as you have some value to offer, nobody will ever abandon you. But after recent events, even I have to admit that I'm not worth quite what I... Well, if the Fatui are gonna reevaluate my utility, I need to have a backup plan for myself.
As we discussed, I don't like causing harm to living beings, and you said you need protection. So?
I think these two have made their objection to that idea fairly clear. Don't you?
Yeah, obviously!
Then let's put that discussion to the side. Today can be a trial run. Where we go...
All right. Then I'll do what we...
Good. Go now, and keep in touch.
Nahida, are you...
Yes. I have my reasons for this decision. In fact, I'm largely... Yes. As I told you once before.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's the whole reason we came to see you today.
Mm-hmm. You may remember me mentioning that the Fatui had not included your twins' details in the Descender category. It's possible that the Fatui have other information that even I don't know about. And since the Balladeer used to be one of them, he'll be better acquainted with this information than I am. He was granted the power to connect with Irminsul when he almost became the god of a new era. Even though he no longer has the Gnosis, some traces of its power remain in him. The amount of information in Irminsul is vast beyond description. Sifting through all of it without knowing what to look for would take too long, so I asked the Balladeer to search in Irminsul for any information about the descent.
Exactly! Or...
I understand. But sometimes, everything is dictated. How things will go in the future depends on what information he brings back. And Traveler, our minds have connected several times before. There is a corner of your heart reserved for an intense longing. A feeling of being all alone in the dark, searching for the one can. As Sumeru's deity, it is my responsibility to be on guard against the Balladeer. But as someone who counts you as if this deal with the Balladeer can give you the answers you've been longing to find, then it's worth it. It's my pleasure, really.
Paimon's still worried about...
I was going to contact you about that, but in fact, I was going to ask you to supervise the Balladeer on my behalf while he carried... Even though he only has a fraction of his full power left, that's still a fraction of a former Harbinger. If you could accompany him... Of course, I'll be there to help guide you through Irminsul from the... Great. Prepare yourselves.
Wow! It looks pretty different here compared to last time. The colors are gentler. Guess that must be because Sumeru's at peace now. Uncle Tien, we're here to chat with you.
Oh? What a lovely surprise. Welcome. Hoishin, why don't you go downstairs and get the shopkeeper to make us a fresh pot? I heard that you've been traveling all over the place recently. I would very much like to hear your adventure stories. Hoishin told you, didn't she? Don't worry, I'm quite all right. It's just the years gradually catching up with me. As I grow older, I'm starting to find that with many things, though the mind is willing, the flesh is weak. Especially recently, I've noticed a rather drastic... I am still very much in good standing as the Tianshu today. Nevertheless, I wish to pass on the position before my mental acuity begins to decline beyond...
How difficult is it to transfer the Tianshu position?
Oh, well, you see, the Tianshu is a rather unique position among the Liyue Qixing. Historically speaking, the Tianshu rarely appears in public. We stay behind the scenes, planning, and we also want to keep any prospective Tianshu candidates free from influence by outside forces. For these reasons, the incumbent Tianshu typically recommends their candidate of choice, and this is then approved by the other Qixing.
So in other words, you pick someone, and then Lady Keqing, Lady Ningguang, and the other Qixing appoint...
Correct. Unfortunately, due to my health, I won't be able to assess every candidate. Not to despair, however, because I found someone exceptionally capable to act on my behalf as assessment officer.
Oh?
I'm heartbroken. I thought it might take you a little longer than this to forget all about me.
It's Yeon!
Jackpot. Uncle Tien here asked me to assess 3 candidates for him. Fancy joining me? You'll be among the first to get to know the next Tianshu. Might be a good opportunity for you.
What do you think? Paimon thinks so too. It can't be a bad thing to be on good terms with a new Qixing, right?
Alright then. Though, I gotta say, Uncle Tien, you say you're into behind-the-scenes planning? My work's of the covert variety, too. Don't you think?
Huh? Yelan, you want to...
I'm not opposed to the idea, but I suspect Ningguang wouldn't let you go very easily after how long you've been working together. So, how about this? If your investigation reveals that none of the other candidates are qualified for the position, I'll recommend you for the job.
Deal. Well, you guys take your time. Everything's all set for the assessments to go ahead. Meet me on the first floor when you're ready. Until then, have a pleasant conversation. Oh, and no need to pay for your tea. As the new owner of this fine establishment, this runs on the house. You're all set?
Uncle Tian seems really worn down. It's like all his
Yeah, it may sound harsh, but Uncle Tian is past his prime. He's not cut out for this anymore. So he's recommended 3 candidates. Their names are Qinwei, Mingbo, and Zhi. Qinwei is a wealthy entrepreneur. Mingbo works at the Liyue Ministry of Civil Affairs, and Zhi is focused on study and travel. Try to keep all that in mind. Of course, it doesn't really matter if you forget, since we'll be assessing them at Yuehai Pavilion in a short while.
Qianwei, Mingbo, Jui. Paimon should be able to remember their...
Let's leave that until we get to Yuehai Pavilion. All right. Heads in the game, people.
Got it. We'll keep our eyes wide...
My legs are getting sore. What is wrong with this assessment officer? This is a huge occasion and I don't even get a chair. I've dealt with all kinds of people in my time, but never have I been made to stand. That's called being complacent. If you're happy...
Oh, come on. That's just... All right, you two. Let's not get into a big argument over this. Qianwei, that was a bit uncalled for. And Mingbo, cut him some slack. We've all been standing around for a while. It's natural to be getting... Look, how about this? There's no rule saying we're obliged to stand up while we wait, so why don't we borrow some chairs?
Fine. They're not the best.
It looks like all 3 candidates have arrived. We'll meet them formally soon. Before that, let me run you through the assessment process. I've split it into 2 stages: current affairs and planning, and face-to-face interview. In the first stage, candidates are required to submit a manifesto for Liyue's development. In the second stage, we will ask them some questions in person. Writing a manifesto takes time, so I informed them of this requirement in advance. These are the reports they submitted.
Wow. One of them is
It's also worth mentioning a stipulation I gave them. Whoever is appointed as the new Tianshu will be expected to implement their plan as put forward, and failing the occurrence of some cataclysmic event, they will not be permitted to change their plan. Therefore, these 3 piles of documents in front of us represent where each candidate stands on key policy issues. There's still some time. Have a skim through, get a first impression. I'll be waiting off to the side. Just let me know when you're done. Finished, huh? What did you think?
Everyone took it very seriously.
Of course they did. They have the chance to be picked as the new Tianshu, so you can bet they're putting their best foot forward. And keep in mind, whoever gets in has to execute their plan as written. Nobody wants to have any regrets. That's for me to know and you to find out. We can talk more after the interview. We'll see the candidates now. Let's do one at a time. Start with Chenwei.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so you two are the assessment officers, are you? I had assumed that given the great import of this situation, Lady Ningguang would perhaps be assessing us in person. I certainly hadn't imagined I'd be seeing two entirely unfamiliar faces. I trust you've read through my manifesto? I'd be more than happy to clarify any details you found difficult to grasp. It was written with an expert audience in mind.
Mind your tone, mister.
Relax. It wasn't intended as a personal slight against anyone in particular. I was simply stating a fact. Cloud Retainer? You know this Adeptus? Oh, yes, I remember now. You must be the traveler that... With your sterling reputation, you must have a respectable level of erudition. Perhaps you will be able to understand the concepts I have put forward. Although I shouldn't get my hopes.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yes. Please introduce yourself.
I'm, Mingbo. I've worked there for, 9... I have 12 active cases at the moment. My current work is related to urban planning, and I'm also responsible...
Is it just Paimon?
You know what? Let's leave the self-introduction there and move on to some...
Oh!
Hello. What would you like to know? You're here to assess me, so ask away and I'll answer your...
Your manifesto is very wide in its scope, but you don't seem to be personally involved in many of the specific fields. How can you be sure that you have the ability to put your plan into action?
Very fair question. I completely understand where you're coming from, but I'm confident in my plan. I've visited many different places, talked to lots of people with far more expertise than myself, and my manifesto is the conclusion of these efforts. Of course, two different problems can be interconnected in very complicated ways, and you might reach two very contradictory conclusions depending on which one you're focusing on.
How do you plan to determine whether you are right or wrong about your proposed solution being the optimal one?
A great question. Well, I'd start by having my colleagues and the secretaries of the Yuehai Pavilion evaluate any proposals before implementation. If it turned out that my judgment was to blame for poor results, I would...
Nice answer.
He seems like a great guy. Everything he said was thoughtful and logical, and he was just a pleasure to listen to.
Here's my take on what we just learned. As you saw, Chenwei is highly knowledgeable. He proposes many excellent ideas in his manifesto which effectively target the big issues. But he is very proud and incredibly stubborn. He doesn't care much about other people's feelings. Mingbo's plan is more thorough and more measured. You can tell he's meticulous in his work, very detail-oriented. But he and Chenwei are otherwise polar opposites. Mingbo is not very articulate and comes across as very timid in conversation.
Perfect summary! Paimon couldn't agree more! You're
Last but not least, Jur-E. His manifesto is full of pertinent details, his methodology is sound, and his proposals cover a broad range of fields, which is quite a rare feat. The depth he goes into in each and every area means it can only be a product of painstaking work. Plus, he is modest and good at... But what really interests me is that many of his views happen to coincide with Uncle Tien's. Having someone like Jur-E take the position would certainly put Uncle Tien's mind at rest.
great!
We'll see. Let's...
see, then it's more or less.
All right. Then let me ask this. The ideas in Jur-E's manifesto are very similar to your own. Is there any particular reason behind this?
Oh, I didn't want to say anything when I gave you the list of candidates, for fear of affecting your judgment. But I can tell you, those 3 candidates have all studied under me in the past. But Xin Wei went on to focus on his business, and Ming Guo has always been occupied with his work at the Ministry of Civil Affairs.
Whoa! So how did you get to know them all?
Chen Wei was referred to me by an old friend. Ming Guo came to my attention in the course of my work, and as for Jerry, we first met while fishing. Gradually, as we Jerry came from a poor family, and his parents died when he was very young. But he reminded me of a younger version of myself. So I started out giving him a few words of advice when we were out fishing and noticed how quickly he quite. And now, all of a sudden, the young are growing up and I am growing old.
I don't know, Uncle Tian. You still seem in pretty good shape to me. You might have another few years of work left in you, don't you think?
Oh, you. There's really no need to console me. Having less energy than I used to isn't such a bad thing. It just means I...
Sounds like you sure love fishing, Uncle.
Ooh, there's nothing quite like fishing to bat.
Fresh fish soup.
Doesn't it? Also, when we've been fishing recently, Jerry always brings some extra ingredient. That flavor makes for a fond memory. But at my age, who knows how many more chances I have left.
Ooh, can Paimon come next?
Let's get back to the matter at hand. Uncle Tian.
I appointed you as the assessment officer. And had you not asked me why Jerry's ideas were so similar to mine, I was not going to mention my history with any. This decision must be guided by what is fair and right. Please disregard all other considerations. Remember, you must be thorough.
Understood. Come on, let's go talk somewhere else.
Bye-bye, Uncle Tian. Look at... So, his manifesto was written well.
Easy. Let's not rush. There's no time limit for the...
Huh? So, are you
No, nothing like that. The assessment itself is complete. But let me give you a word of advice. Things are not always as they appear. The biggest no-no in intelligence work is to only get information from the person of interest themselves. The truth is almost always hidden beneath many layers of deception. For example... Wenyuan, Shanghua.
Yes?
Lady Yelan, what are your orders?
Ugh! Who are they?
Did they scare you? These two are Wenyuan and Shanghua. They work for me. As my trusted assistants, they are always standing guard nearby. They also perform various assignments. Shanghua is a business expert who gets his information by trading. Wenyuan relies...
That meathead must have been out there on sea surveillance for some time now. Is he all right? I seem to remember that he can't...
Nothing can take that guy down.
Shanghua, visit all the commerce guilds and look into Qianwei's background. Wenyuan, go to the Ministry of Civil Affairs and look through...
Yes, ma'am.
So what about Juri?
Jur-E. Well, obviously, as the most promising candidate, we will be in... Let's go to the docks first. Lots of people passing through there.
If we're looking for information, why don't we try talking to Bulai, the owner of Wanyu Boutique? He does business at the North Wharf. Maybe he has some...
That's actually not...
Huh? What's Bulai doing here today?
Look, your asking price for this batch is just too high. I can't buy.
Come on, hear me out. I'm telling you, I accidentally dropped one into a well, and even the water turned
Even so.
All right. I'll let you in on a little secret. The boss of Second Life also wants to buy from me, but I haven't responded. If you won't take him, I'll just have to part.
Okay, what? Oh, what are you doing here? And to be clear, these Sunsetias are mine.